Welcome to Action Takers Publishing, our author's interview. And today, our special guest is Julie Donelson. Julie is a former social worker turned author, mentor, and coach, helping women over 45 who have raised their kids and getting back to dreaming of their own goals for their life. But dealing with menopause, ADHD, and their desire to do everything they always dreamed of, it can be tricky. I hear you. Sometimes we try to do it all, right? And Julie
Right.
learned the hard way and now uses her failures to help others avoid those traps. So welcome, Julie. I'm excited to have
Thank
you
you.
here.
Well,
So
thank you so much. It's an honor. I'm thrilled to be here.
now you were in Wellness for Winners, and was that your first book? Or
Yes, that was my very first. Yeah, my very first book. Gosh, it's even now still it sort of seems it's really surreal to think that I am a published author. So
I
here
know,
we
it's
go.
amazing, right? Yeah, and this is going to just open doors. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience and what got you into this book to begin with?
Well, my experience has been, I'm going to turn this up. My experience has been, oh my gosh, I've been a helper, social worker my whole entire life. I remember even as a child trying to do things to help others. That was, I guess, it's sort of inborn in me. I guess, that one of my roles on earth is to help other people succeed or to have a better life in some way. And so my career was in social work, specifically child protective services. And I did that for over 30 years, got my master's in social work and all the things, and was able to retire from that career right before the what hit, right? And so now, since then, I've really just been exploring all the things that when I was so busy in the day-to-day of doing, abuse investigations or caseload management or whatever, that I always thought, gosh, it'd be so fun to do, but there's not ever time to do things like that with the job that I had. It was just not, those two things weren't working. So now is the time I've just been exploring all the fun things that I can do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, in your chapter for wellness, you and I have a little bit of the same type of thing that we went through, and coming to that realization that, what, we need to start taking care of ourselves, because that whole self-care thing, I think women just tend to not do that.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about your just a little snippet about your chapter in wellness and how that came about?
Yeah, there were really, in that about the same time in my life, in probably within like a year or so, there were a series of events that took place, and the chapter that I wrote really just focused on one of them. But there were a few events that sort of happened, and that's sort of, how the universe lines everything up together to be like, hello, like trying to tell you something, and so I had been on high blood pressure medication. I had chronic migraines and, lots of other complaints, but I was just pushing through every day on caffeine and sugar, junk food. And I had a reaction to the meds, which landed me at the heart clinic to wear a monitor for 24 hours. And I was just so completely, I don't know, mortified. I'm not really mortified, but just completely caught off guard. I didn't tell anyone. I just had them put the thing on me, and I just went home and pretended like everything was fine and went on with my day and just pretended that nothing was happening different than any other day, because I just couldn't deal with that. The thoughts of what if, and I went to bed that night and I thought, wow, what if I don't wake up in the morning? What? Like, what is that? What would that be? And then so that just set off a chain for so many people. I think it's a similar thing. There's like an incident that's, sort of starts it, and then the ball just
Right.
starts rolling, and you have a
Yeah.
choice to make. I'm either going to keep going this way, or I'm going to choose something different. I have to choose
Yeah.
something different. So,
And it all comes down to that decision, right? That one decision that we make that changes everything.
yeah, you just have,
You know?
I think so many of us get to a point where the pain of staying where I am, or the heartache of staying where I am, is not any worse than the heartache of just trying something different, So yeah, it's just like, well, this clearly isn't working for me. Let me do like one thing different and see what happens, and
Yeah.
go from
Right. You
there.
get to the point where you say, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Right.
I'm going to
You
need.
just like, why am I living like this? Yeah, there's no.
Yeah.
That's silly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's great. And your chapter's amazing. I really, really love your
Oh, thank
chapter in
you.
this book. So,
Thank you.
yeah, if you're watching this, go out and get Wellness for Winners. You can get your copy at wellnessforwinners.com. And you'll see Julie and all the other authors are amazing in this book. So now we have another book coming up that you're
Yes.
part of.
So fast. Yes. Yes.
So we're
fun.
doing these.
So
We're putting
exciting.
these right out, one right after the other. So you've got the book I read, and this is a book that transformed you. So why don't you tell us a little? I mean, without going into too much detail, tell us a little bit
Right.
about your chapter in this book.
Right. Well, it's so interesting how this, again, the universe sort of served this up to me in phases, right? So, like I said earlier, I left my career in the Child Protective Services. And so I don't know, like, if you've been around social work, or maybe you've been a social worker, but you know that they're constantly doing 100 things at once. Like, you can't, like, there's 2 minutes here, and then you're just all the time doing, many projects all at one time. Lots of phone calls and things distracting you and all that type of deal. So I left that job, and there were things that I just always thought made that I was just quirky. Like, I always just thought, that's just me. I'm just quirky that way. But then as I retired and I moved into this different phase, I started to notice that I wasn't any more focused now that I wasn't at a job than I was when I was at the job, with being pulled in, 100 directions. And I was like, that's interesting. Why am I still struggling with these things that I thought was just because of the job I had, but clearly is not? Like, there's, again, something going on. And so I happened upon an Instagram account from a mentor who is an adult, was diagnosed as an adult with ADHD. And she started doing like Instagram reels and things about her ADHD and her symptoms and the things that were part of what led to her ultimate diagnosis. And I was like, hold on, I do all of these things. What is happening? You just recognize yourself in things over and over and over. And it's just like mind-blowing when you start to think, oh, maybe I'm not just quirky. Maybe that's really the thing that's been going on this whole time that I've been fighting against and didn't know it. So there was a book I read that just crystallized so much more. And I'm still quirky, but now I know why.
Now you have a name for it, right?
There was that book and several others, really. And I have to tell you that I didn't mention this in my chapter, but if you haven't read yet Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of Yes, you have to get that on audio, because she's hilarious, first of all, and you will want to be her best friend because she's super funny. But in her book, she talks about, I realized that what I was saying yes to was staying overweight, staying fat, staying unhealthy. And what I really wanted to say yes to was being healthy, being able to be with my kids, to have the energy, and not just fall onto the couch with wine every night kind of thing. And so she also had that moment, that sort of light bulb, like, wait. So that's another one. That's just a bonus book. So.
Perfect. I'll have to look into that. So tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you're doing some kind of you do coaching now for women.
Right. So it's still basically kind of like social work, because I still really love helping women, especially women my own age, because we're the ones who, like, the kids are grown and now we can kind of do other things than hustle kids around, right? And then it's like, but wow, I've just put myself on the back burner so long. How do I go from the things I've always said, oh, I'd like to do that someday, to actually doing it? And there's like a gap there. So I just love helping women break down the things that they have dreamt of or envisioned themselves doing, or the things they want to do, help them figure out how to make that reality and stop just living in the someday. So many of us live in that someday. One day I'll do a half marathon. One day I'll do, whatever. And we never quite get there. But you can actually get there, and you can get there pretty quick. And you just need somebody to help you make a plan and figure out how to move forward on it.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need that coach. You need somebody behind you to say, okay, here's what you do next, or let's make a plan, because you don't do it when you're on your own a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, well, even the best, even Olympic athletes have coaches. Exactly. And Michael Jordan had a coach. Like, everybody has coaches. It's not that they can't do that, but to be better or to improve, they need somebody outside saying, I see what you're doing here, and this is not moving you forward to where you want to be. So bring it back around and let's refocus, So everyone has coaches, and doesn't make you incapable of doing something. It just means that you've never done that thing before, and somebody else can help you do it faster and with less stress and less pain, maybe less anxiety of it.
So what's next for Julie Donelson? What's coming up in the future? What are some of your dreams and goals that you're working on?
Well, I'm actually putting, I actually have a self-guided 14-day self-care workbook that will be available, probably even this week, available for people to download and have like either print themselves or just, get the PDF. And I have an online course that I'm putting together and creating, so that, again, people who maybe are like, well, I don't know if I need a one-on-one coach or a group coach, but I would do something on my own to help me on those steps, kind of thing. So I have that's in development too, and that will be ready later this spring. Perfect. So that's going to be really fun.
Yeah. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and connect with you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Julie Donelson Coaching, and I also have a Facebook page, Julie Donelson Coaching. I'm in those two places most readily because, I do like Pinterest, but like LinkedIn and TikTok, and some of those are not just my jam as much. But Facebook and Instagram are great, and I return messages as soon as I can, but I'm not awake 24 hours a day, And my website, which is slowly getting going again, is also, I have an email there as well, Julie at Julie Donelson. So
perfect. So why don't you share with us maybe just one fun fact about you before we head out?
Fun fact. Well, I don't really like going along with the crowd generally. So for my 50th birthday, when most ladies that I'm aware of in my area have big parties and wear a tiara with a feather boa or something, I was like, that's not really me. So I went to Africa and met my daughter, who was in the Peace Corps in Zambia, and we went to Tanzania and climbed Kilimanjaro for my 50th birthday.
There you go.
I know, like what, like,
Why
you
not,
know,
right? Perfect. I love it. So you're an action taker.
I'm
I
an
love it.
action
You
taker.
are, you certainly are. Well, Julie, thank you so much for being
Thank
part
you.
of Action Takers Publishing and for sharing your story in our books. We really appreciate you, and we're just so happy to have you part of our family.
Well, and I appreciate you all so much too. You've just been such a joy to work with and get to know a little bit. And I appreciate everything that you're doing for me and the other authors that are have already come before me, and then who will come behind as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank these ladies. Many of them I never knew before the book, and now I know them. So it took an entire team to make this work. As you said, Sally, winning in those categories, none of us did it on our own. It was a collaborative effort. We've got Dionne Roberts from the UK. I'm sure you'll hear from her in a moment. But for me, and I've been publishing. I have a solo book. I have a couple other book collaborations. But this was a unique experience because from start to finish, everything was in motion. The method of communication, no author left behind, for some that may have struggled in getting their chapters done or slide them in under the wire. And everyone was treated equally the same. It didn't matter who you were and how many books you'd written. And Shanna's shaking her head about that because it didn't matter. We're all doing this together. So I love this unity and this community of us all getting there together and having the tools and everything that we need. All of the marketing materials are phenomenal. I'm going to just say this. It feels like the Super Bowl. There's two teams playing, but only one team's going to win, but they have to have the marketing materials ready. So I watched the Super Bowl right after. There goes the Rams with all the, you won. Of course, they had to have the other team ready also. Well, this team was ready. They were ready with the #1 stickers. And I guess, halfway through the day, here we are getting our marketing materials with the #1 Amazon sticker on it. Who does that? Action Takers Publishing does it. I love it. I mean, I'm holding that close to my chest. I'm going to be using those pictures from years to come. But to just have it all ready and prepared, because you know what, Sally? You guys believed in us. Yep. You believe we're going to hit #1. And I love it. I'll take this to write again. Thank you.
And the fact that you got your whole family involved too.
Yes, yes. My husband's involved. We had to work some appointments around this. As a matter of fact, I've got one after this. He was so kind to put, his something that's very important to him on hold. So I'll be doing that. And I scheduled something before it. I do run a business. I scheduled all those things around that. But today this calendar said book launch. And my husband was so kind to work with me and eat his dinner around all of this too. He had to wait, but he was so patient. So it takes, if you're in a household and it's more than just you, they have to be a part of the process. They have to be a part of this. It is community at home.